The houses are where the astrology happens in our lives. So each house represents a different area of our life in some way. And that kind of adds another level of personalization, as that changes every 2 hours with the ascendant as well. Houses are what makes astrology personal. So the way that I like to describe it is, when you're born that day, everyone that was born that day had the sun in that sign. Almost everyone, depending on if there's a few exceptions to that, obviously. Mm-hmm. But in general,
people born typically on the 21st, 22nd.
Yeah, between the 18th to the 22nd, 23rd. That's usually the cusp periods for changing seasons, and that's where things get a little complicated. But also, like I said, the moon could be changing signs that day. Changes every 2.5 days. It's pretty common for moon to change signs. Mm-hmm. And Mercury can also change signs once a month, so that's also relatively common as well. Sometimes twice in a month if Mercury's moving fast. So there's exceptions to that. The houses, the houses represent essentially what personalizes it all to us. So the first house symbolizes self. It symbolizes who you are. It symbolizes your physical appearance. The second house, and there's 12 houses, there's 12 signs. So they all align. One sign rules each house. And we don't want to get too complicated here, because
you can have can you have the same sign ruling different houses?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Depending on, because there's what's called house systems, and that's the whole other.
Yeah.
We don't want to get too complicated now, because I want people to be able to understand this. But yeah, the way that I use astrology and the house system that I use, which is one of the most ancient house systems and one of the first, assigns one sign to a house, which makes it very easy. So each house has a ruler. That ruler impacts that area of your life on top of whatever planets are in that house. So the first house represents self, represents personality, it represents your physical appearance. Second house represents wealth, represents the money that you receive, little transactions. Third house represents communication, it represents messages, it represents siblings. Fourth house represents your conditioning, your upbringing, your home life, your mother. Fifth house is sexuality, creativity, activity. Sixth house is the body, health problems. Seventh house is relationships, interpersonal and intimate. Eighth house is other people's money, debts. It also represents death, sex, transformation, the kind of alchemy. And ninth house is higher education, learning, travel. 10th house is career, how you show up in the world, how people perceive you. 11th house is your network, your friends, your community. And the 12th house is your deepest unconscious, or the kind of traumas and spirituality as well. So those kind of, like I said before, when we're born, everyone that was born on my birthday had all the same planets that I do. What makes me unique compared to them is the time that I was born, because that sets the alignment, meaning that I can have planets in very different houses than someone born a few hours later that day. And that's what makes it specific to me versus them. So when people say, oh, astrology, it's not, people like to use that argument that it's not legit because it's so generic. Well, it's not. It's very specific, actually. Mm-hmm. And the people that say that have no idea what they're talking about. So, and that's the reason, too, is like I said, every 2 hours the ascendant changes, which means every 2 hours the chart changes. And actually, sometimes even less than 2 hours the chart can change.